Side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, or showing cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon. Call 800-663-9110 or visit creoninfo.com to learn more. That's creoninfo.com.
I'm asking my doctor about EPI and if Creon could help.
Coming up at 3:55 p.m. Listen to Dominic Carter for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Dominic's Final Thoughts on 77 WABC.
Stay to the right to Grand Central Parkway West toward RFK Bridge.
Now, from New York City to the world, it's Dominic Carter.
And France intends to recognize a Palestinian state in September at the United Nations General Assembly. President Macron announced this in hopes of bringing peace to the region, but the plan, as you might imagine, is drawing angry responses from Israel and from the United States. One of the reasons why Trump is so effective, bold as the way he is, and he's not your typical politician. So it might be hard to hear right now because his aircraft is right behind him. But asked about this to Macron, President Trump says point blank, don't pay attention to Macron. Who are you? Look, he's a different kind of a guy. He's okay. He's a team player, pretty much. But here's the good news. What he says doesn't matter. It's not going to change it. Well, he made a statement. Well, the statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy. I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight. So, listen to what Trump said. Guy, I like him. They don't pay any attention to what Macron says. You have to respect the honesty in something like that. So, you see all your points. In a moment, I'm about to go to Kevin in Westchester, who is retired diver for the NYPD, and he worked on the Flight 800 crash in Long Island. But I'm looking at my Twitter, at Dominic TV, Will the Spill. Some of you got jokes. Some of you folks got jokes. You know I got this thing with alligators. And Will says, Big Dom, the doctor tell you the other night when I called in that I had some crocodile. It's even worse now. I thought it was alligator. I had some crocodile.
Any lane.
Delicious. Oh, Will has got jokes. It says he sends me this I guess this is an outdoor grill stand.
What's up?
And you can see where they have an
Everybody in the
alligator or a
building.
crocodile in this case up there grilling on a spinning
Welcome.
grill, the same way you would do a pig or a gyro. And then there's like 15 alligator heads in front with the teeth, and so they pick. The heads are cut off. And very funny, Will. But I get the joke. I mean, it's nice. But Will says that it tasted delicious, right? But hey, you know what, folks? I want you to do me a favor. So Will says when he called in the other night, folks, if I know you on
gonna
Twitter,
be
I
rain.
don't know your name as a
Use the
caller.
right to exit
You have
right to exits 10 EW
Will the Spill, I don't know who you are as a
Expressway
caller.
toward
You have
Eastern
to let
Long
me
Island.
know what your Twitter handle is,
need
and then I can put two
Look at
and
this
two
guy.
together. I hope that makes sense. Let's see here. We got a lot of telephone calls, so let's get to them. Let's start with Joseph, line 2, Fairfield, Connecticut. Joseph, is it hot in Connecticut?
Yes, it is. It's in the 90s right now.
And how are you
Exit
staying
right
cool
to
before you
exits
get
10
to the job?
EW
Well, right now,
9495.
I'm in the
Long Island
American
Expressway
East
toward Eastern
Okay,
Long
so
Island.
we'll take that. We'll take that.
That's pretty calm. No problem.
Okay, good. So what you
Manhattan.
Dominic, I want to talk about an executive order that President Trump signed yesterday that allows municipalities to take care and treat the homeless. Many of them have brain disease, mental illness. I'll tell you what, I remember how this whole, in the early 70s, I was a special ed teacher at Bryan State Children's
Any
Hospital.
lane.
While we were there, we West Jose.
Any lane.
No, wait, Joseph. So you were a teacher in Bronx State?
Bronx State Children's Hospital, yes.
Wow. That's deep.
In
That's the real
500
deal.
feet,
That's the real
use the
deal.
left lane to
So
stay
wait a
to the
minute.
left to
Now,
exit
now let me
JW
make this up. When
I-495
you would be
west
in the
toward
classroom, would
Midtown
there
Tunnel
be
and
an
Inlet.
officer in the back? Because I know at the juvenile detention centers, oftentimes they have an officer in the back of the classroom, or it would just be you in there with the students.
I was working with a psychiatrist and psychologist.
Okay.
It was called the Waters Place School, part of the Bronx State. It was a federal government funded program. It was a new program. This was
Stay to the left to exit JW I-495 west toward Midtown Tunnel.
Come back.
I remember the institutions were being depopularized, populated. They were taking them out, and basically the homeless problem started at that time. They were not taking care of many of these people that deserve
In
special
900
and humane
feet, use the
treatment
right
and
two
care and
lanes to
medical
stay to
care.
the right to
They
exit
had brain
JW
disease, because mental
I-495
illness,
west
because
toward
really the
Midtown
brain
Tunnel
was
and
ill.
Downtown.
So that all started there. Now the executive order that President Trump signed, it's allowing municipalities and fair treatment
Stay to the right to exit JW I-495 west toward Midtown Tunnel
and they
and
don't. They need to be intervened by good medical care. Good institutions, good places to house them should be opened up again. This country is very rich and wealthy. They should not bring the bad institutions, but bring in good people, allow more special care.
in 900 feet,
People that have
use the left
specialties
two
in
lanes to stay
psychology,
to the left
psychiatry,
I-495
social work
west
to
toward
house
Midtown Tunnel
these places
and
where we can keep the people.
Downtown.
There's probably several million that are so-called homeless, but many of them, I would say 80%
Stay to
of
the
them have
left
mental
toward
illness, brain
I-495
disease, and
west
they have to.
toward Midtown
A
Tunnel
rich country
and
like ours should not allow that to happen. They should not allow people to be out there not treated.
No, Joseph, I hear you, Joseph, but I'm thinking about the waste, I'm thinking about the
Any lane, any lane.
just the money. I hear you, I really do, but there's two sides to this coin. I have a lot of calls. Thank you for the wonderful call, Joseph, and drive carefully in Connecticut. Stay cool, it looks like it's about to rain, so we'll see. Let's go to someone that we spoke to last week, Kevin, line 3, a retired NYPD diver that worked on Flight 800 that crashed in Long
in
Island.
2.9
Hey, Kevin,
miles.
thank you for the
Stay to
call.
the
How's
left to
everything going?
I-495 west
So
toward
good.
Midtown Tunnel
Sweating like
and
everybody else out here.
And how are you staying cool at this hour?
I'm staying in the AC.
There you go. There you go. So, when you do what you did for a living, what do you do in retirement? Because you can't top that.
Well, I transferred, I did 15 years in scuba, and then I transferred to the intelligence division. And I did another 18 years there, so I got my gold shield. I did some stuff with the NYPD Harbor Unit and the Second New York Coast Guard guys. Stuff that's never been done before by the NYPD, which I was kind of proud of. And right now, once I retired, I was kind of going from, every day was 100 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, I'm sitting home and, it's like, hit the brakes. I'm pretty active in my town.
You're a volunteer. Okay, that makes sense. Someone like you, but
Someone like you,
So
someone
you
like
mentioned
me.
a gold shield. I've heard a number of law enforcement officials mention a gold shield. This may sound like a very simplistic question, but I really want to know the answer to it.
Someone
What
like
does it
me.
feel like to actually receive a gold shield?
It depends on the person. Some guys take the investigative track in their career. Some guys take the supervisory track. So guys are looking to make sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and go up in the rank. I wanted to be a detective. And that, once the NYPD has two different types of detective. One is the investigative, and one is the special. The guys in scuba were getting specialist shields because you have a definite specialty. Just like pilots in aviation.
Kevin, that's the understatement of the year, to say that you have a specialty as a...
Someone like this,
And
someone
you
like
mentioned
that.
this the last time we spoke, and we have a lot of calls.
Rain, go and come back.
I want to continue this conversation with you. And so if
Construction
you
recorded
could
ahead.
we're going to set up a segment just with you, because I want to talk to you straight up, Kevin, for a straight hour. Obviously with commercials, but about your experiences in the
Someone like
NYPD as a
this.
diver. So you mentioned this the last time, so please, when we're done, stay on the line, and our executive producer, Philippe, will get a telephone number from you. You mentioned this last week, and you said it so unassuming. But I want to know what this feels like. I'm serious. So you're going down to give the family some dignity to find their loved ones. And you mentioned to me that you can't come up straight, I guess because your lungs would explode if you tried that deep down in the water. You mentioned to me that you were holding a human body in one hand. What does it feel like, and what is that experience like?
Most of the time when we're searching for bodies, you bump into them.
Been working on this deal for 12 years. You got it done. It's a good deal. It's a good deal for the UK. So, no, I'll be seeing him tomorrow, I guess, tomorrow evening. And this is our wonderful ambassador, you know. He's doing a good job. He's a very, very successful man. He'll be doing a good job. The Royal Nation said we're going to have to bring infrastructure and server to bring the open back. Is that something you know? The best course anywhere in the world is Turnberry. The players all want to be a Turnberry. Everybody wants to be a Turnberry, so we'll see how that works out. The infrastructure needs to I think the infrastructure and the course is good. In fact, the Royal Nation, I don't know if you're aware of this, they spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or probably into the millions of dollars, and they've laid all the wire for television and for electricity under the holes of Turnberry. So
The president landed in Portland. Remember the scene in Braveheart. That's what I
waves to the nearest centimetre per second. You know, the say it's moving 7.56 meters per second. So that kind of accuracy just isn't really feasible or useful.
And when you say track waves, do you mean like people saw fossilized prints and they were like, okay, based on these prints, we think the dinosaur is moving at this speed?
Yeah, exactly that. So if you think about when you walk versus when you run, you take shorter strides when you walk than when you run. And the equation is based on watching mainly mammals, there are some birds in there,
Turn left
running
on Green Pine
and
Avenue.
walking and
Then
measuring
stay to the
stride
right
length
to Borden
and
Avenue.
relating that to the speed they're moving at. So in theory, you can look at a trackway,
Any
measure the
lane,
stride
any
distance,
lane.
Stay to
and
the right
calculate
to Borden
speed.
Avenue.
And what's wrong with the old equation?
There's nothing wrong with it as such. It was never meant to be a precise tool. So McNeil Alexander is this absolute giant
In 1
in the
mile,
field. He wrote
turn
an
left
amazing
on
paper.
21st Street.
And this is one of those things where, for what he was doing, it was good enough. But you look at the original graph, and it's these pretty big error bars on it. And he himself in 2006 wrote a paper where he commented, people are using this wrong. It's not for specific values. It's for this animal was moving very quickly, this animal was moving slowly. And in that regard, it's still right. It's just you can't say this thing was moving at 5.63 meters per second.
Well, let's talk about your study. Explain how you used videos of guinea fowl to figure out if the calculations for small theropod dinosaur speed might be off.
Right. So my whole career really is based around figuring out how dinosaur footprints are made. And so 10 years ago, a little more than that now, we collected a whole bunch of data of guinea fowl moving over clay, mud, sand, that kind of thing, to look at how individual footprints were made. But we have this vast data set where we've collected slow motion video of guinea fowl, small modern theropods running over soft substrate, and we collected all the data of the trackways afterwards. So all the data was there to say, okay, how accurate is this equation? How well does it work when we have a bird, we can watch it move, and we can look at the tracks in the same way we would if we found these as fossil tracks?
And what did you find?
Well, we plotted them on the graph, then plotted the original Alexander's equation. And
Who's in the
various
building?
That on the graph.
Davey,
And our data were nowhere
welcome.
near the line produced by
on the way to Manatee.
So the guinea fowl, you know, they were about 4
Sally
times slower than the
Scorpion, my
equation
dear love,
predicted.
Sally Scorpion.
Really?
My
Wow, much
EBT is
slower.
0.0.
Yeah, much slower. But maybe that's to be expected. So as you get to slower speeds, the equation doesn't really work as well. So if you think about, I gave the example earlier, if you're walking versus if you're running, you take longer strides when you're running. You move faster by moving your legs quicker and moving them further. But if you're walking through the kind of deep mud where you're leaving substantial footprints, that equation sort of breaks apart. You
Lambo
start
bridge
taking
on the top
longer
of the
strides to
Fuji.
get your foot out of the mud and
Right.
avoid getting stuck in the mud without really
talking
increasing your speed.
You know, one thing that's confusing to me about this equation in general is like, you know, if you've been to the beach, you've seen these tiny little plovers running around, right? And they're running very fast even though they seem to have, you know, they have a very short stride length. And then you'll see a seagull running and it's like much slower even though the stride length is longer. What am I missing?
So this is another aspect to it. This is an equation that's sort of derived from elephants and rhinos and cheetahs and dogs and cats and people and ostrich and all mushed into one big data set. But as you just pointed out, animals move differently. So your
Turn
plover and
left on
seagull, they're going to
48th
have very
Avenue.
different leg
Then turn
proportions,
left on 30th
thighs,
Street.
shin, and that's going to change the stride length that comes about when they're swinging the leg in the same way, if that makes sense.
So is there a way to figure out exactly how
Turn left
fast
on
a
48th
dinosaur
Avenue.
could run?
Then turn left on 30th
No.
Street.
No.
So what we can do, there's
Turn
two
left
ways
on
to get a
47th
dinosaur speed.
Avenue.
There's track,
Rain, go away.
I'm biased towards, that's my area of research, and that's kind of the ground up. That's direct evidence of motion. It's literally left by an animal moving, right? And the other side is the bones, the skeletons, the things
Yeah,
that we
Sally
see
Scorpion
most
in the
of
building.
museum.
My
So
dear
people
love,
can
Sally
use computational
Scorpion.
models, they can apply muscles,
Davey.
the digital replica skeleton, get computers to figure out how fast
On the way
it
to
could run.
Manhattan.
There's problems with
Upper
both.
level,
The problem
Lambo
with
bridge,
skeleton is
upper
the
level.
Turn
you can't
left on
actually
47th Avenue.
prove you're right
In
or
600
wrong. Your
feet.
computer can
Turn
say it
left.
should move at this speed, but how do you justify that? Normally, I would say the way you validate that is with the tracks. Do the two sources of information match? But when we're talking about maximum speed, we have this problem. That is, animals don't move at their maximum speed very often. And they leave tracks at their maximum speed even less. I know we are an edge case as humans, but if you imagine how many times you've sprinted at your maximum speed today, it's probably not many times, right?
It's very rare for me. Yeah.
Yes, me too. And you also probably haven't sprinted at your maximum speed over the kind of soft substrate that would leave behind recognizable footprints.
Never would I sprint on a soft substrate.
So, fossilized trackways, unless we have a really freak occurrence, are really unlikely to preserve the maximum speed of any animal, really. I would say the best way to approach that is to use the computational models not to look for the maximum speed, but to look for maybe the most efficient speed, or the speed that involves the least metabolic cost, and then do the trackways line up with that kind of thing as a sort of validation for our model.
The
Done with the
walking
X,
speed for
onto the
dinosaurs.
next. Done with the X, onto
I'm
the
sure just
next.
how you put it. One more question. Why are we so obsessed with how fast animals can run anyway? Why do we care about this question, do you think?
That's a great question. I don't know, but we do, don't we? In the same way that we care about which dinosaur was the biggest, which one was the heaviest. But there is a genuine scientific reason for it, and that is when you find the extremes of what animals can do, that can tell you something about what's possible and how the systems work.
Done with
And
the
that's one of the
X,
reasons
onto
dinosaurs
the
are
next.
important, because they expand so far beyond the animals alive today. Our sauropods were so much bigger than elephants, and T-Rex was an 8-ton biped. We have nothing like that. We have no 8-ton, two-legged animals today. And so by looking at these animals, that tells us what's possible.
This is delightful. Thank you, Peter.
My pleasure.
Dr. Peter Falkingham, Professor of Paleobiology at Liverpool John Moores University in England. That's just about all the time we have for this week. If you missed any part of the show,
Turn left
or
on
maybe you want to hear it
Thompson
again, subscribe to our podcast. It comes out every day, and you can join us throughout the week on social media or with our newsletter,
Done with the X, go to the next.
sciencefriday.com/newsletters. We'll see you next week. I'm Laura Lixman.
Next big thing.
Science Friday is supported by Progressive Insurance. Progressive's rate comparison tool can be used to find a competitive rate on car insurance for coverage on the road. Options to fit most any budget. More at progressive.com or
Turn left on
1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Jackson Avenue.
Support also comes from the Simmons Foundation, advancing the frontiers of research in mathematics and the basic sciences. More at simmonsfoundation.org. And from the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, working to enhance public understanding of science, technology, and economics in the modern world. Science Friday is produced by the Science Friday Initiative, dedicated to increasing the public's access to scientific information. Learn more about their work at sciencefriday.com.
When farmers struggle, they have to get creative.
I kind of set a goal of 300 people. We charge $5 and give us a little bit of money to put towards something.
I'm Connor Rizal, Sunflowers, and income diversification. Next time on Marketplace. This evening at 6:30 on WNYC.
Delivering.
WNYC is supported by Paramore in Katona, New York, presenting Terry Riley's In C in collaboration with Bang on a Cam this Sunday. Open to all. Shuttle service from the Katona Metro North Station is available. Tickets at paramore.org. You're listening to WNYC. Happy Friday to you. Heads up, there are some pretty severe thunderstorms moving through our area. Much of New York City, parts of New Jersey are under a severe thunderstorm warning until 4:30
Now
this
the
afternoon.
top of
Pretty
the
strong winds out there. You can see some hail too, so please be safe, especially if you're out there on
Be
those roads.
safe,
Those gusts
baby.
can get pretty powerful. Pull over if you have to. We're going to keep you posted about the weather as we get through all things considered here. Right now it is
Turn right on
94
East
degrees in New
62nd
York
Street
City.
toward
We're
First
coming up
Avenue
on 4
and
p.m.
FDR Drive.
Seriously.
This is WNYC, FM, HD, and AM New York.
Seriously.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Ross. The Trump administration is releasing billions in federal education grants after withdrawing holding them for review earlier this month. NPR's Sequoia Carrillo reports the Department of Education says it will disperse the money to states next week.
The money, over $5 billion worth, is typically distributed on July 1st. But this year, in an unprecedented move, the administration withheld the previously approved funds for review. The decision left many districts scrambling in the lead up to the school year. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle lobbied to release the funds immediately, citing financial strain on states and local communities. A letter from Republican senators prompted the release of a portion of the money earlier this week, but with the new announcement, all funds frozen will now flow to schools. Sequoia Carrillo, NPR News.
As aid groups warn of starvation in Gaza, the Trump administration is pinning the blame on Hamas for not accepting Israel's terms for a ceasefire. NPR's Michelle Kellerman
Turn right on
reports
East 62nd
President Trump
Street
is
toward
suggesting
First
a
Avenue
diplomatic
and
deal
FDR
may
Drive.
not be possible. The U.S. and Israel pulled their negotiating teams out of Qatar after receiving Hamas's latest counter-proposal for a ceasefire
Then
that
turn
would have
left
seen
on
some
2nd
hostages
Avenue.
get out of Gaza. President Trump calls the situation disappointing.
Turn left on 2nd Avenue. Then use the left lane to turn left on East 62nd Street.
I think they want to die. And it's very, very bad.
Trump says Hamas understands what will happen once the remaining
Estimated
hostages
time in
are
traffic,
released.
7 minutes.
Will lose their shields and lose their cover. Now Trump says Israel will have to fight to clean it up and get rid of them. Those were his words. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department. Justice Department officials met for a second day
Use the
today with
left lane to
Soren
turn left
Maxwell,
on East
the former
62nd Street.
associate of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. She's serving a 20-year prison term in Florida for helping him sexually abuse underage girls. After today's session in Tallahassee, her attorney, David Martin, said she answered the questions truthfully. He said he and his client are not asking for clemency in return for her cooperation.
We haven't asked for anything.
Yeah, Lambo Bridge, baby.
We're asking
Upper level.
for testimony or anything like that. Of course,
We need
everybody
it.
knows that Ms. Maxwell would welcome any relief. She's been in very difficult conditions for 5 years, and so she would welcome any relief. That's the right thing to do, and we have faith that the right thing will happen sooner rather than later.
President Trump was asked today about a pardon or commuting her sentence. He said he has the right, but it's something he hasn't thought about. He said people should be talking more about how well the country is doing. On Wall Street, just before close, the Dow was up 208 points. This is NPR News in Washington.
And on WNYC New York, I'm Sean Carlson, 93 degrees at 4:04. The House Ethics Committee has wrapped up its years-long investigation into gifts Congressmember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took in connection with the 2021 Met Gala. And it says she should pay back nearly $3,000 from her own funds. The committee issued its 31-page report today saying Ocasio-Cortez improperly accepted gifts, including her fiance's $250 attendance and her gown, or finances, $250 attendance and her gown, which is emblazoned with the phrase, tax the rich. A spokesperson for Ocasio-Cortez says she accepts the ruling and will pay the amounts asked of her. The FDA is stepping up patrols on a Marine Parkway bridge after more cyclists say they were injured in collisions with strings strung across the bridge. WNYC's Kathleen Ganello.
WEBs.
Two people were
WEBs.
crossing the bridge over the weekend and had similar but less severe wounds to those reported by cyclists.
WEBs.
Angel Mongalvo says they rode into a string that was hung at
In
neck
400
level on
feet,
Sunday.
use the right lane to turn right on East 60th Street.
And then I felt pain, but I didn't
WEBs.
know what it was.
Turn right on
Mongalvo
East
was left
60th
with
Street.
marks in the shape of lines on their forehead and neck. Last month, two cyclists were seriously injured by what they believe was kite string. No charges were filed in connection with those incidents.
New York City and parts of Long Island are under a heat advisory as temperatures are soaring today. They're also linked to worsened air quality. Professor Andre Butler teaches about industry at NYU. He says it's caused because of our reliance on air conditioning.
While we're indoors, we are
WEBs.
energy to cool our homes, and those processes are producing more pollutants.
In 900 feet, turn left on Lexington Avenue.
Which drives us
East.
indoors.
He says the cyclical relationship will continue to happen every heat wave as it's unsafe for people to go without air conditioning. Air quality is currently unhealthy for sensitive groups in the city, and all of Long Island, the heat advisory is in effect until 8 p.m. Right now, N trains delayed in both directions right now. Downtown B&D trains also
babies.
Sony Pictures Classics presenting
Turn
Ohio,
left on
a new
Lexington
comedy
Avenue.
directed by Sophie Brooks, starring Molly Gordon and Logan Lerman, about a young couple whose romantic weekend slowly begins to unravel. Now playing in theaters.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Ari Shapiro in Washington. Even 6 years after his death, there are many threads to follow in the story of accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. The Justice Department interviewed his former girlfriend and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for a second day today, and President Trump tried again to change the subject.
They talk about me. I have nothing to do with the guy.
Another thread is the money trail. 3 years ago, Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon used his power as chair of the Senate Finance Committee to begin an investigation into Epstein's finances. He's now the ranking Democrat on that committee controlled by Republicans. And Wyden says his investigation has found suspicious transactions totaling more than $1 billion. He's raised questions about the money trail that he wants the Justice Department to pursue. He sent a letter to the Attorney General laying out the case, and he is here to tell us what his staff found. Senator, welcome back.
Downtown.
Thanks for having me, Ari. Your investigation found that unusually large amounts of money were being moved around. Can you just big picture describe what these suspicious transactions looked like?
Suspicious.
Well, we found, for example, 4,700 wire transfers, and there were details about women and girls being trafficked. And we've seen evidence of a paper trail, account records, treasury files. We have details about Epstein henchmen who carried out his orders, information about banks looking the other way, government agencies sleepwalking, and I think that it's just important now, if you're looking at a rigged financial system, to make sure that all the facts come out.
You just named a lot of different potential players, from banks to co-conspirators to government agencies. Where do you hope these trails lead? What do you hope gets illuminated?
What I want to do is make sure that the point person in the Trump administration, the Attorney General, looks at the Treasury material. I just mentioned these 4,700 wire transfers. Now, the Trump administration said, oh, nothing to see here. Well, I just told you about 4,000 potential lines of investigation. And sex trafficking is one of the ugliest crimes, worst practices, imaginable. And Epstein was running a global ring.
You said that there are 4,700 transactions here, and
that is at just one bank, Ari, only one. He dealt with a number of banks, including apparently Russian banks.
can we explain for listeners just a little bit how this investigation worked? My understanding is that banks file suspicious activity reports with the Treasury Department, which then puts them in a database, which law enforcement can access, but you had to negotiate for your staff to get access?
That's correct, and during the Biden administration, we were able to do it, and Republicans were also involved in a number of these investigations. Let me step back a little bit and tell you how we started. We were concerned about a billionaire on Wall Street who gave $158 billion to Jeffrey Epstein and said it was for finance management and taxes and the like. So we kept digging, and that's when we decided to go after the SARS and the information on Epstein.
We asked the Treasury Department about this, as well as the Justice Department. The Justice Department had no comment, but a Treasury spokesperson said the Biden administration had access to this information during its tenure. The fact that Senator Wyden never asked Joe Biden or Merrick Garland, who is then Attorney General, to address this matter shows this is, quote, pathetic political theater and a complete joke. How do you respond?
That's just factually wrong. We asked the Treasury Department during the Biden administration to show us the material, show us these suspicious activity reports. They did. We asked Republicans to join us in efforts to do subpoenas afterwards to get more information. Republican senators weren't willing to do that.
And yet, the public letter that you have written to the Attorney General laying out specific points that you would like the AG to pursue. You didn't send a letter along those lines to Merrick Garland when he was Attorney General, did you?
I went further. We asked to sit with them and look at the files. They allowed us to do it, and we wanted to have a bipartisan effort from that point on, and the Senate Republicans weren't willing to do it.
Do you believe that there are financial crimes here that the money was not just used to fund criminal activities involving sex trafficking, but that the transfers themselves were criminal?
Certainly a possibility. When you have hundreds of millions of dollars moving through these banks, I think there's certainly a serious prospect that a number of the transactions that were described involve a host of crimes.
That is Democratic Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon. Thank you for speaking with us today.
Thanks, Ari.
Since President Trump returned to office, it has become routine to see federal officers wearing masks on the job, especially as they enforce immigration laws. Now, some Democratic politicians want to try to force them to take the masks off. NPR law enforcement correspondent Martin Cossey joins us now to talk about this. Hi, Martin.
Hi.
Okay, so yeah, for months now, we have been seeing these images of especially immigration officers wearing face masks while taking people into custody. Do you think that is likely going to change now?
Well, there's no law right now prohibiting them from wearing those masks on the job, but Democrats in Congress do want to change that. They have a bill they call the No Secret Police Act, which would restrict the use of masks by immigration agents, though it's not really likely to pass as long as the Democrats are in the minority. But there is more chance of legislation at the state level. The California legislature is considering a bill that makes it would make it a misdemeanor for law enforcement to wear masks unless police are working for cover or wearing masks for health reasons or in other certain situations. And in New York, Assemblyman Tony Simone says he's following California's lead with a similar bill there. And he says he has constituents in New York who feel terrorized by the prospect of being picked up by masked police.
We want to build trust between law enforcement and the people of the United States. They should not be masked.
Ice cream.
Customs enforcement officers, in his mind, should accept that being publicly identified as part of their job.
Wait, but can states even tell federal agents that they cannot wear masks?
You know, I assumed they couldn't, but when I dug into this, apparently it's not that clear cut. If this passes, there may be a real legal fight because, especially if the state law applies to all law enforcement officers operating in state territory. The dean of the law school at UC Berkeley, Erwin Chemerinsky, pointed out to me that federal agents already have to obey other kinds of state laws, say stopping at stop signs.
The Ninth Circuit has said that
Ice cold water.
if a federal agent acts in, quote, an objectively unreasonable manner, the state may bring a criminal prosecution. So I think the question is, would a state prohibition on law enforcement wearing masks interfere with the performance of their duties? Is not wearing masks objectively reasonable?
Okay, that's a law professor's perspective. What are police saying about these proposed bans on masks?
Well, in California, some of the local police are saying they feel like they're being punished for ICE agents' overuse of masks. They say state law there already requires them to identify themselves on the job, but still want to keep the option of covering their faces in those instances when, say, they're working crowd control and protesters with cameras are threatening to dox them. Jim Dudley used to be a commander with the San Francisco Police Department, and he told me that even though online doxing is new, police have long faced this kind of we know who you are intimidation tactic.
I did get phone calls from officers' families calling about, the need for protection because somebody's calling in the middle of the night, talking about things like where their kids go to school and really personal information.
Well, what about the federal government? Like, what's the perspective on this from ICE?
So ICE leaders have made similar arguments here. They point to efforts by some activists to post names and faces of federal agents online. And that kind of doxing does happen. I've seen one website that organizes photos of alleged ICE employees, organized by the cities where they were spotted. But what we don't know is whether this has led to actual violence. ICE recently claimed that assaults on its personnel has increased eightfold this year. But because the agency won't talk to NPR about the details of these cases, it's really hard for us to judge what connection there might be between that kind of sort of exposure online and their officers, and any kind of violence against their officers on the job.
Right. That is NPR's Martin Cossey. Thank you, Martin.
You're welcome.
Artist Amy Sherrill is canceling an upcoming show at the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery here in Washington, D.C. Many of her bold and colorful portraits have graced magazine covers, but Sherrill is best known for her painting of Michelle Obama, which has been a popular attraction at the Portrait Gallery. NPR's Elizabeth Blair has more.
Amy Sherrill's American Sublime was scheduled for the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery for 5 months beginning in late September. It's is currently at the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York. She's canceling the show because of a dispute over her painting of a trans woman with pink hair and a blue gown holding a torch. It's called Transforming Liberty. Cheryl told the New York Times the Smithsonian plans to replace the work with a video of people reacting to the painting. She said the video would have, quote, opened up for debate the value of trans visibility, a narrative she did not want for American Sublime. In a statement, the Smithsonian tells NPR the video was an addition to the painting and wouldn't replace it. The statement added that the Smithsonian is disappointed the show has been canceled and remains, quote, appreciative and inspired by Ms. Gerald and her artwork.
In
May,
1000
President
feet,
Trump tried to
turn
fire
left.
the National Portrait Gallery's director for being supportive of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Smithsonian's Board of Regents said personnel decisions were the responsibility of the secretary. The Portrait Gallery's director resigned 2 weeks later on her own. Amy Sherald has a long history with the Smithsonian. Her portrait of Michelle Obama was commissioned by the Portrait Gallery. In April, she talked to NPR about the impact of Trump's rhetoric on her work.
We're talking about erasure every day, and so now I feel like every portrait that I make is a counter-terrorist attack. To counter some kind of attack on American history.
Please stand up.
And on Black
Please
American
stand up.
history, on Black
Please stand
Americans.
up.
Elizabeth Blair
I'm Slim Shady, no, I'm the real Slim Shady. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. I'm the real Slim Shady. Please stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up. Wala nga.
It's WNYC. More All Things Considered is coming up. President Emmanuel Macron says France will become the first G7 country to recognize a Palestinian state.
Please stand up.
From
Please stand
Palestinian
up.
leaders and sharp condemnation from Israel. We're going to hear all about it in just a moment.
WNYC supporters include Hudson River Park, presenting Broadway by the Boardwalk. Jasmine Amy
Please
Rogers
stand up.
performs live
Please stand
Monday,
up.
July 28th, 6:30 p.m. at Clinton Cove at West 55th Street. Open to all. More at HudsonRiverPark.org.
Please
This is
stand
David
up.
Hurst. New York Public Radio just lost about $6 million of federal funding for the next 2 years.
Use the left lane to
This
turn
means
left on
that
7th
financial
Avenue.
support from you, our listeners, is more important than ever. Right now, we need you to start or
Please stand
increase
up.
your monthly sustaining donation. Stand with us. Call 888-376-WNYC or go to WNYC.org and click on Donate. You're listening to All Things Considered right now. A peek ahead to tomorrow, weekend edition Saturday. As the sun begins to set on July,
Please
many
stand
people in
up.
our area are asking how to optimize the end of their summer. Tomorrow on Weekend Edition, hear from some of your neighbors about their plans
Yeah.
and whether or not they feel like summer is ending.
Times Square is next. Please stay clear of the closing door.
Tomorrow at 8 a.m. on WNYC. It's hot outside. Not only is it hot, but we are seeing some pretty heavy thunderstorms move through our area. Actually, right now, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and also Jersey City are under severe thunderstorm warnings. That right now is slated to last until 4:45. We'll keep an eye on alerts from the National Weather Service. We'll keep you posted as we get them. But in any event,
Please
stay safe
stand up.
when driving. Don't drive through deep water. Do not drive through gusty winds. If you don't have to, pull over if you have to. Totally fine. Just be safe,
Please
especially
stand
if you
up.
get out there on those roads. If you're out on those roads, just bring an umbrella, stay dry, stay inside. And WNYC on Friday at 4:20.
In 1.9 miles, turn left on West 20th Street.
1999 is all over.
Support for NPR comes from member stations and from the Kaufman Foundation, providing access to opportunities that help people achieve financial stability, upward mobility, and economic prosperity, regardless of race, gender, or
Red light.
geography. Kaufman.org.
Please
And
stand
Eric
up.
and Wendy Schmidt through the Schmidt Family Foundation, working toward a healthy, resilient, secure world for all. On the web at theschmidt.org. From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Elsa Chang. President Emmanuel Macron says France plans to recognize a Palestinian state before the United Nations General Assembly convenes in September. The move comes as Gaza's ceasefire negotiations have broken down again. Macron says there is no alternative as the humanitarian capacity in Gaza worsens and the few living Israeli hostages languish. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports from Paris.
Macron's
stand
comments
up.
on X Thursday night were met with with fury by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu,
Please stand up.
who
Please
said the
stand
move
up.
rewards terror and could turn Gaza into a, quote, launch pad to annihilate Israel. President Trump, speaking to reporters before departing on Marine One from the South Lawn of the White House, was more dismissive than angry. He poo-pooed Macron's move.
But here's the good news. What he says doesn't matter.
But world anger is mounting as the situation in Gaza becomes more desperate. Hundreds of Gazans have also been killed at the new food distribution points run by the IDF and U.S.
Please stand up.
contractors.
Please stand
Gérard
up.
Araud is a former French ambassador to the U.S., Israel, and the UN. He says recognizing a Palestinian state is just part of a bigger
Delivery.
plan.
What the French are doing, it's not
Please
a
stand up. Please stand up. Please stand up.
nation state. Actually, there is always a diplomatic démarche behind it.
A démarche that began with a June 9 letter to Macron from Mahmoud Abbas, in which the Palestinian Authority president condemned the Hamas attacks of October 7 and committed to recognizing the legitimacy of Israel, disbanding Hamas, accepting a demilitarized Palestinian state, and holding free elections in 2026.
Estimated time in traffic,
And
9
foreign
minutes.
minister
9 minutes.
next week wants to take
10
the next
minutos.
step and create a roadmap for peace.
In terms
Des
of
minutos.
rebuilding of Gaza, in terms of integrating Israel in the Middle East. So it will be a global
Please stand
roadmap.
up. Please
Although
stand up.
knows the reasons the plan could fail are many, a far-right government in Israel, Hamas entrenched in Gaza, and an unpredictable American president.
Security.
He says France must try,
Security.
but it's not naive.
We do know that nothing is possible without the United States.
Israeli
Security.
Ofer Bronstein is a longtime peace advocate. He once advised Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, who steered Israel toward a two-state peace solution with its Palestinian neighbors until he was assassinated in 1995. Today,
Please
Bronstein
stand up.
advises President Macron on Israeli-Palestinian relations.
It's the right time.
It's the right time, he says, because only a political solution will bring peace. Bronstein believes October 7th would not have happened had there been a Palestinian state.
Please
No
stand up.
doubt about it. The best way to fight terrorism is to have a responsibility by the Palestinians.
Bronstein says he has no doubt other
Long
European and
live.
G7 countries like the UK, Australia, and he says they have commitments from many Arab and Muslim nations that once the war ends, they too will recognize Israel. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
President Trump's tax and spending law has a provision that's causing an uproar in a place you might not expect, the world of professional poker. NPR congressional correspondent Barbara Sprunt traveled to Las Vegas and brings us this report.
Please stand up.
Final table is getting underway for the World Series of Poker. Together by craving to get the best shots in a sparkling room lined with large photos of tennis players. This place is filled with poker superstars looking to take home more than $93 million in total prize money.
This is the Super Bowl of poker, or a lot of people may say this is the Olympics of poker.
That's World Series of Poker CEO Ty Stewart. We're some 2,400 miles away from D.C., but he says unlike in Vegas, what recently happened on Capitol Hill certainly didn't stay on Capitol Hill.
I mean, as I walk around poker tables, I definitely hear it from the players. The players are concerned.
What happened in Vegas, stay in Vegas.
That surprise, a few lines folded into President Trump's signature legislation that Congress passed earlier this month. For more than 5 decades, gamblers who won more than they lost throughout the year would only pay taxes on their profits. This new provision of the
Vegas
law,
State,
which goes into effect
happened
next
in New
year,
York State.
amends that, making losses only 90% deductible.
First, I didn't believe it, and then I read it, and bad for just about everybody in the industry.
That's Russell Fox, a Nevada-based tax professional whose firm specializes in gambling. But what does change actually mean for people? Buckle up for some math.
Buckle
Say you've
up.
got a professional gambler who wins $100,000 in a year, has 80 grand of gambling losses and 20 grand of business expenses. He breaks even, he pays nothing. In 2026, with the exact same numbers,
He will owe tax on $10,000 on phantom income.
and this isn't just for poker players, it applies to sports betting and other gambling too. Fox says casual gamblers will be affected if they're itemizing their losses, but it's the high-stakes players who will be hurt the most.
What's the point in playing those tournaments when the government's going to dock you 10%? The math
swirling among players in the room that one of the biggest names in poker, Daniel Negreanu, is going to take their concerns straight to President Trump. In between hands, I asked him about it.
A lot of rumors get out, don't they, huh?
Is that something that you would like to do?
We have contacts to, powerful people in Washington, and I think ultimately what's most important for them to act, because sometimes these bills pass and people don't even know what's in them. And in this case, I don't think they really thought this one through.
He calls it an illogical bill.
Taxing people who lose money, like you're taxing zero income. Like, we don't mind paying taxes, but like, on actual money. Nobody thinks it's fair to pay taxes.
Another major player, Bill Homelessness, has a nickname for it. But he's hoping trends in high places will make things right.
A few days ago, Bruce texted me and said, hey, we apologize for getting this in there.
The next day, Ted Cruz, the Republican senator from Texas, tells me he's co-sponsoring a bill to get things back to the way they used to be.
It fixes what was clearly a mistake. It was a mistake that virtually nobody in the Senate will
Nobody fits the wheels.
I don't know of anyone in the Senate who opposes fixing it on merit.
The language came from the Senate Finance Committee. Its spokesperson said the state Congress needed to make sure every provision created a budgetary effect in order to comply with the rules of a process called reconciliation. The Joint Committee on Taxation estimates the change would increase revenue by nearly $1.1 billion over the next decade.
It's not like it's zillions of dollars, which is going to save the nation.
That's Republican Congressman Mark Amodei of Nevada. He says the provision incentivizes dishonesty when it comes to reporting wins and losses.
Frankly, you want people reporting everything on both sides of the ledger. It's like they're going to find a way not to pay income tax on income they didn't really have.
He's co-sponsoring a House bill to address this alongside fellow Nevada member Dina Titus, a Democrat.
We've gotten more response to this than we did for anything about Medicaid or food stamps.
She says beyond being unfair to players, the shift impacts the broader economy.
That's going to send you overseas. It's going to send you to the prediction market. That's going to hurt the industry because, people who come to play poker, they spend money on shows and shopping and things like that.
Getting a standalone bill passed in the House these days is a tall order, even with bipartisan support. But this is one of the only times when poker players actually want the House to win. Barbara Sprint, NPR News, Las Vegas.
You got
It's WNYC. All things considered continues, the CDC is drafting some recommendations about who should receive the COVID vaccine. Some experts say the move may erode a closer look at the aggressive flu vaccine policy that's coming up in just a moment here. All things considered with headlines from that. 93 degrees right now here in lower Manhattan. We have some pretty heavy
Yo.
through our areas. Just be aware, be safe.
Yo. Watermelon.
WNYC.
Watermelon.
Ever wondered what a poem from 1909 would sound like as a punk song? I'm Simon Cook, the creator of the Public Song Project, and I'm hosting a royalty-free, no-fee, free-for-all radio special featuring music from listeners like you. We'll be celebrating your reinterpretations of art from the public domain, talking to contest winners, and playing our favorite songs from the biggest batch of submissions ever. Tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. on WNYC.
WNYC supporters include the New York Film. Tickets are on sale now for the 2025-26 season, featuring Gustavo Dudamel and pianist Yan-Chan Lim. Beethoven's Fifth, Disney's Encanto and Concert and more. Tickets to all concerts available at nyfilm.org.
If you believe democracy requires a free press, your station is WNYC. 93.9 FM and AM 820. NPR News.
Penn Station and one tomato baby.
Live from NPR News in Culver City, California, I'm Dwayne Brown. Israel says it's considering alternatives to ceasefire talks with Hamas after the U.S. and Israel recalled their negotiating teams yesterday, deepening uncertainty in the Middle East region. The UN warns 1 in 5 people in Gaza face starvation as Israel continues to block food supplies. Here's Emily Fang reports the situation is only getting worse.
NPR's producer Gaza Anasaba has been sending me daily, almost hourly updates over the last week on how people there cannot find food to buy, even if they have the money to pay for skyrocketing prices. He himself has been surviving on sometimes less than one meal a day. The UN says about 100,000 women
Any reality
in Gaza
check?
face severe malnutrition. They need medical treatment immediately. And this mass hunger has led to growing global condemnation of Israel's control for letting in food to Gaza.
That's NPR's Emily Fang. Ceasefire talks, meanwhile, with Hamas broke down this week over just how much of an Israeli military presence will be allowed to remain in Gaza. The Justice Department is suing New York City over its sanctuary laws protecting migrants. Sarah Venture got that story.
The DOJ stated in its complaint that, quote, New York City has long been at the vanguard of interfering with enforcing this country's immigration laws, and that these policies violate the Constitution's supremacy clause. The suit was filed not just against the City of New York, but also the NYPD, New York City Council, and even Mayor Eric Adams, who said in 2023 that the influx of migrants to New York would, quote, destroy the city. This move by the federal government is the latest in a series of suits over similar policies that limit local cooperation with federal immigration authorities. New York is the largest sanctuary city in the country.
In 3/4 of a mile, turn left on West 20th Street.
In New York, I'm Sean Carlson, 92 degrees at Fort Worth. Planned Parenthood clinics in New York State have tried to figure out how to make up the lost medications. Clinics are still seeing Medicaid patients, but they're not getting paid for that care. Wendy Stark is the CEO of Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely an attempt by lawmakers to financially starve providers of abortion services without actually enacting a federal abortion ban.
Stark says she expects to make up for the losses by selling the building that houses Planned Parenthood's Manhattan Clinic. She also said she hopes the state will step in with more funding if a lawsuit challenging the Medicaid restrictions on Planned Parenthood is not successful. Governor Hochul has not committed to doing that. New York City officials say they're investigating a reported ATM scam involving payment cards issued through the city's Summer Youth Employment Program. The scam went viral on social media earlier this month. The Department of Youth and Community Development says scammers are targeting participants who are paid through cards rather than direct deposit. The New York Times reports card users withdrew $17 million from ATMs across the city over 3 days. The paper says tens of thousands of dollars were withdrawn from some machines. Officials say no taxpayer money was lost. They say they're still looking into who's responsible and the total number of cards that were affected. This weekend is the 46th annual Thunderbird American Indian Powwow in Queens. WNYC's Nipa Koloff reports on the annual celebration of indigenous cultures.
Tribes from all over the country will gather this weekend in Floral Park at the Queens County Farm Museum. There's going to be music, crafts, and dancing for the audience to join in during the lighting of the bonfire. Louis Mofsey is the director of the Thunderbird American Indian Dance Company. He says this is one of his favorite parts of the weekend.
What they're doing is they just enjoy the feeling that the town is supposed to bring to all people, not doing of, togetherness and friendliness and good feelings, and I think that's part of what that's all about.
The powwow runs through Sunday.
Look at our transit situation. No Staten Island Railroad service between St. George and Grasmere due to a tree on the track, and trains delayed in both directions due to someone needing medical assistance at Coney Island Station. Coney Island found 2 trains running express from Prospect Park to the highway. Up now, NJ trains are running delayed. Brakes were activated near Fort Hamilton Parkway. On the commuter rail, 20 to 25 minute delays on the LIRR's Montauk line. NJ Transit's Mars and Essex line suspended in both directions between Morristown and Dover due to overhead wire issues. Northeast Corridor trains also experiencing delays. It's 4:35. Support for NPR comes from WNYC members and from Indeed, committed to giving job listings increased visibility with relevant candidates through its sponsored jobs feature. Learn more at Indeed.com/NPR. And BritBox, presenting Outrageous, a new BritBox original drama based on the scandalous true story of England's infamous Mitford sisters. Streaming this and more original series at BritBox.com.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly. Since Robert F. Kennedy Jr. became health secretary, he's been making big changes to federal vaccine policies. He's shaken up the process for vaccine recommendations and reduced who will be eligible for COVID vaccines. For a start, many medical experts are concerned the administration will further limit vaccine access. NPR health correspondents Rob Stein and Ping Huang are here to talk about how these vaccine policies are playing out. Hey there, you two.
Hey, Mary Louise.
I want to start by just digging in on the COVID vaccines because they have been so much in the headlines these last several years. Rob, you kick us off. What is happening with the COVID vaccine?
Yeah, so that's a huge first change that the Trump administration made under Kennedy. The COVID vaccines were becoming like the flu shots. You know, everyone gets an updated jab at least once a year. But Kennedy and his team are now saying only people most likely to get really sick should routinely get vaccinated. Only people age 65 and older or who have some health issue. That means a lot of people, a healthy 14-year-old, a 40-year-old, even a 64-year-old, are no longer on the list. And Mary Louise, that's not all. The CDC dropped the recommendation that pregnant women get vaccinated and is now telling parents, wait, talk to your pediatrician first about whether you should vaccinate your healthy kids or not. Kennedy announced all this in the video on X.
I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule.
And that was a real bombshell.
Wait, hold on and stay on that word for a second. Bombshell. Why is it a bombshell? Is it bad policy, Pink?
Well, this policy change really goes against what a lot of medical experts were thinking, especially the part about pregnant women who can get really sick from COVID. And also vaccinating pregnant women can protect their babies as well. And we know that COVID can be as dangerous to the youngest kids as it is to older people. Now, on the other hand, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention had already been considering changing COVID vaccine policy to only recommend shots for people at higher risk of severe COVID.
And you know, Mary Louise, the administration argues that so many people have so much immunity now that it makes sense to stop and rethink this.
Yeah, one tomato coming up. Thank you everybody for sticking around. See you tomorrow. Peace and love. Peace and love.
In 1,000 feet, use the left lane to turn left on West 20th Street.
Here you go.
Speed camera reported ahead.
Look at that lady with her kids. See that lady with her kids? That's crazy. Thank you, Dave E. Take care. Have a good weekend.